Hello and welcome. I'm Katrina Pratt Roebuck, and I'm the founder and CEO of Uplifme. And Uplifme is a national resource hub of social service events happening across the country, as well as an organization that highlights the great work happening in Philadelphia. So today I have with me Marcus Allen, who is the Chief Executive Officer for Big Brothers Big Sisters Independence. And so, Marcus, thank you so much for being here.
Katrina, thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to get into this conversation with you.
Thank you. I'm so excited too. So let's start by you telling us what Big Brothers Big Sisters Independence does and who you serve.
Well, I think most of your viewers have heard the name Big Brothers Big Sisters, but oftentimes when I ask them, well, do you know what we do? And nobody can really tell us, right?
Okay.
And so I think that's one of the challenges when you've been around as long as we have. So actually, we'll be celebrating our 110-year anniversary here in Philadelphia next year in
Wow.
2025. And I'm happy to say we're going to be bringing a national conference here to really talk about the great work we're doing both here locally and across the country. But Big Brothers Big Sisters, we are the oldest one-to-one mentoring organization in the country.
Mhm.
Our mission is to ensure that we ignite the power and promise of youth and close the mentoring gap by putting a caring, compassionate adult in the life of a child. And then we support them with our methodology and our model of supporting mentors who are working with some of our kids who are having really extreme challenges and obstacles in life. We are the largest evidence-based program in the country. As a matter of fact, we're engaged in a randomized study right now through the University of Chicago through this partnership called Arnold's Venture. We're about 20 months into a 3-year study. We just got a chance to review the halfway mark of that study, and one of the researchers said that we're in what they call the promised land of evidence-based research.
Wow.
Meaning that the first research that was done on us in 1994 by Public-Private Ventures here in Philadelphia, those same results, if not better, still exist today as we know that society changes. It also said that we may be even stronger. Our model is even stronger right now because they started the research during the middle of the pandemic. And during the pandemic, we all know that kids had exacerbated issues with depression, anxiety, feeling lonely, all the things that came with the pandemic, particularly for our kids, because we serve kids, 90% of the kids we serve live below the poverty line. Majority of our kids are Black and brown. About 80% of the kids we serve are Black and brown. And so, as you can imagine, our kids and families have major challenges. And so we believe that mentoring is not just something nice to do, it's something that's necessary.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so you mentioned that the program is evidence-based, and I'm really impressed by that. Can you talk a little bit about what that means? What does it show that the program is effective at?
Right. So evidence-based, for those who don't know, is so there's different levels of evidence, right? But we are what they call, we're not a blueprint model. A blueprint model is when you have really strong fidelity to serving a community or kids in a certain way. But we're evidence-based in the fact that the most rigorous form of research, if you want to prove that your model works, is through randomized study. Meaning that say you have 100 kids, and randomly you pick 50 of those kids to get services, and you have a placebo group of kids who don't get services. And then through that time period for the next 3 years, they monitor how do these 50 kids who didn't get services, how do they do in the areas of attendance, risky behavior, self-esteem, confidence, contact with the juvenile justice system, contact with DHS. How do those 50 kids fare versus those who got services? And so they're looking for effect size. And so if you have a large enough effect size that says, hey, we believe the difference, the delta between the outcomes of these kids warrants us to be able to confidently say that the model was the reason why these kids did better than these other kids. Right. And it's an expensive thing to do. So most nonprofits don't have the resources to be able to get a study like that done on themselves. I think this study cost us over $2 million. We're looking at about 1,500 kids across the United States. And so about 200 or so of those kids are from Philadelphia. So they're looking at our model too. So we're excited about it. We believe that's a differentiator for us. So that when I'm going out to try to raise money to serve the kids, like we have right now about 1,000 kids on our waiting list. And so I am going to different communities, different public and private entities to say, hey, give us the resources, help us get access so that we can take these deserving young boys and girls off of our waiting list and put mentors in their lives.
So that's amazing. And there are a couple of questions I have from some of the things that you said. So was, what does a mentoring day look like? What does one do as a mentor with youth?
So that is almost like a fingerprint, right? There's no
Okay.
one fingerprint that's alike. And so when we bring a caring, compassionate adult and we match that person with a child, we base a lot of what they're going to do is going to be based off of the personalities of that little and that big. We call the mentee a little, we call the adult the big. And so the way we match up people is, and we call that the moment of magic, because we like, you just have to see it. Like when we bring, like you have this kid who's been waiting forever for a big, and then you have this big who's been anticipating this kid. And so, and then once they get a chance to meet, what they don't know is our team takes a lot of time and energy. It's like the eHarmony of social work. So we are interviewing the big and asking all kinds of questions and looking at their personality and all of that stuff. And then we're doing the same thing with the little and the family, so that when we match them up, they're just like, oh my God, like this person was made for me, because we're putting two people together who have similar hobbies, similar interests, similar views. And the difference, though, is it's an adult who's lived a certain type of life that can bring a lot of viewpoints and open a child's mind. But that child is only going to be willing to listen to this person because we developed a friendship. And we developed a friendship. I developed a friendship with this stranger because no matter how he or she or they look, I've found that this person gets me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're with someone who gets you,
Yeah.
it broadens your mind, it broadens your horizon. And so that's our secret sauce, if I'm honest, Katrina, like
Mm-hmm.
really doing the hard work of like going through our stuff and going through our database and doing our recruitment and getting as many volunteers as we can, and then analyzing those volunteers and analyzing those littles on our program and trying to match them up the best we can.
So I appreciate hearing all of that. I think that, when I think about Big Brothers and Big Sisters, I certainly think of it as a wonderful program where people can volunteer and support youth that may need support. But I didn't know that all of that went into the matching process. And so, if anyone listening to this conversation just gets the they get me part, I think that that's huge. I think that that's huge. So I'm glad to hear about that a little bit more. And so one other thing you said that I thought was really important, well, a number of things you said are important, but one of the other things that caught my attention too was looking at the youth that are served and comparing that to other metrics like decrease in truancy and decrease in juvenile justice system involvement. And I think that that is really important. I had no idea that Big Brothers Big Sisters was looking at that data in a macro way and across other systems that touch the same person. So I'm glad to hear that. How can folks find out more about that now, or more about what you guys are doing? I know you said that you're in the middle of a study, but is there anything out that people can look at to sort of see this type of information as they plan their work?
Oh, absolutely. They could definitely go to our website, independencebigs.org. That's INDEPENDENCEBIGS.org. And they can just, we have a lot of our stats up there. As a matter of fact, we're about to post on there. We're in the second year of our 5-year strategic plan.
Okay.
And in that strategic plan, it really talks about where we're trying to go, how we're trying to scale. So now we know that our model has impact. We know that our outcomes are really good outcomes. Now, how do we increase that impact? And so our strategic plan is our vision of how we're going to do that. So they can go to our website. They can find plenty of information that way. They'll also be able to get in contact with us if people have questions.
Okay.
Those people who are interested in more than the numbers and they want to get involved, they can go to, if they really want to get involved and become a big, they can go to Be a Big on our website. And that allows them to click into just a quick form, and they fill out online. And then one of my staff people will be in touch with them after they fill out that form.
Okay.
The form probably takes them 5 minutes to fill out.
Okay.
If they want to get involved in other ways in terms of volunteering, we do a number of things. One of the things we do is something called community care package. We do that probably twice a year, where we fill these boxes up with food and toys and books, and depending on the type of year, coats, hats, all kinds of things. And then we have volunteers help us pack those boxes. And we also have volunteers who help us deliver those boxes to the homes of those children, right? And that goes through the greater Philadelphia area. One of the things I forgot to say is we serve both Philadelphia County, Montgomery, Delaware, and Chester counties on the Pennsylvania side.
Okay.
We also serve Burlington, Camden, and Gloucester counties in New Jersey on the New Jersey side.
Okay, great. So can you talk a little bit, you talked about how folks can engage if they want to become a big. How does one become a little? How does one get signed up for your program?
That's probably the easiest way. Like oftentimes what happens is we don't have any sort of court mandated
Okay.
things in terms of how kids get involved. What happens is there's a parent or guardian or someone who's responsible for the welfare of a child.
Okay.
They've seen that, they believe that their child is in need of mentorship. They believe their child is in need of another adult that can spend time with their child, that they believe their child can open up to, that they believe our services at Big Brothers Big Sisters can, and with all the stuff that we do with the activities with the Eagles, the Sixers, the Art Museum, Kimmel Center, like all of these different partners that we have that come together for our kids to have a robust experience, what I call an extraordinary experience. Parents see that, they see our kids and they see our bigs and littles having fun, and they want their child to have it. So they go to our website where it says, get a big, and they fill out an application. The parent does, depending on the age of the kid. We serve kids starting at 7, and we'll serve them all the way to the age of 24. And so they sign up, and then that goes into our database, and our staff starts looking at the matching process day one.
Okay, great, great. So also I wanted to hear, so you talked a bit about what you guys are working on in terms of the study, but just wanted to also ask you, tell us something that you're really proud of that Big Brothers Big Sisters has done, say, in the past 12 months.
I am really proud of, when I first got to the organization, I was a little skeptical about the one-to-one. I know in some of our communities, particularly in the Black community and definitely the Latino community, there's skepticism around one-to-one. There's also risk, right? Parents saying, I don't know if I feel comfortable with my child being alone with an adult that I don't know, right? So there's a lot of trust that parents give us in saying we're going to help keep their child safe. So I'm glad finally that our organization and our national organization, we've adopted this thing where we call it, instead of one-to-one mentoring, we call it one-to-one plus. And what we're really engaged in, and we're experimenting with different ways to mentor. We're now doing paid mentorship. We're doing a small group mentorship, like 4 to 5 kids per adult. And the most exciting thing I'm excited about is we're going to be starting this next school year, something called Embedded in School model.
Okay.
Embedded in School model is our approach to putting a mentor in the life of every child in 6th through 8th grade.
Wow.
And we chose 6th through 8th grade because middle school years is when truancy is the worst, right? And so if you can stave off truancy before they get to high school, there's an increased chance that child will graduate from high school. We know that more than 90% of people in prison don't have a high school diploma. And so we are combating crime and violence with education.
Absolutely.
And so we are really focused with this embedded in school model, and we're replicating the success that our Atlanta Big Brothers Big Sisters program has had. And so we're replicating that model here. They've been doing it for 2 years. They have incredible outcomes. And so I was just on the phone with the assistant superintendent of Philadelphia School District, who's really excited about it. We're talking to everyone, the mayor. I did a thing with City Council a week ago. So we've been talking to the community. So everyone I talk to about this, they're so jazzed about it. It makes me even more jazzed. And so the main thing I'm excited about is the scalability of this program. Like when you start to look at it, you say, oh, wow, if you We're going to start with 3 schools. We already got money from the federal government to start at seed money. And the way when you look at it, it just will continue to grow and multiply. And one of the people from the school district said, Marcus, I could see this being in every one of our middle school programs. I said, well, think about this. If Philadelphia was the first city to say every child from 6th to 8th grade is going to be assigned a mentor. Every child. Imagine what the outcomes in this city will be.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And we can do this, and it's affordable, and we have the evidence to prove that it works. So when you're asking for solutions, we don't have a solution to every problem, but we do have a solution, a part of the solution to the gun violence that we're seeing in the city, to the lack of educational outcomes for our kids, to how kids feel about themselves. Because we know kids don't learn from people they don't like. So I don't care how good a teacher is, if a kid has not built a relationship with that teacher or someone at that school, learning is going to be very difficult. So if we can we can embed a mentor in the school who's there every day. They don't even come to my office. They're at that school. And we're going to be focused on hiring Black and brown folks in our schools, because I'm told from the school district they don't have enough Black and brown people in the school.
Okay.
So we're going to hire those people, and they're going to focus on relationships, not just between the mentor and the mentee, but we're going to also be providing training to the teachers, the lunch people, the janitor, the security folks around how do we make every school a relationship centered school. And so I'm excited about it.
That's amazing. And it's, knowing the strategy behind it, the connecting of the dots, and it's prevention, right? It's
Yes,
prevention. And so
absolutely.
really helping kids upstreaming those services, I think is so impactful, in that they don't have to experience certain negative outcomes. They can avoid it altogether if they have
Yes.
someone that's caring and can guide them. So I really appreciate hearing all that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, and it's wonderful what you're doing. I really appreciate hearing more about it. And so you talked about the study, so I'm going to ask you just a little bit more about how people can contribute to your organization. You talked about folks can volunteer and sign up. Also, if folks want to make a financial donation, how can they contribute to your organization?
They can easily go to the same website, independencebigs.org //donate. And we made it really easy. You just put how much you want to donate, and you're going to get a tax letter. You're going to get acknowledgement from me. It's really signed by me. But if they want to give to our organization in terms of any money, whether that's stock, whether that's what is it called? We take stock, we take credit card, we take cash, we take it all. So, and one of the things that I'm glad you asked that question. The other thing I do want people to know, because some people could be asking the question, well, Marcus, you just said you guys are driven really by volunteers. Volunteers are the bigs or the mentors. People need to understand that it costs us about $1,500 a year per child, right? So every child that we support, right, we're serving almost 2,000 kids, we have to pay about $1,500. And so every dollar that we get, 85% of every dollar that comes in goes directly to direct support for those matches, meaning supporting the staff that are doing the direct services.
So that's really helpful to know. And then also, based on what you said before, now people also know how that money is being spent, right? Like what the outcomes are, what the positive outcomes are, and the larger vision that you have for the organization and nationally. So that's really helpful to hear that in terms of how much you're investing, both time and monetarily, to supporting kids. So I thank you for the work that you're doing. I'm really impressed with sort of the long view, the lens that you have. And I think that to do something with the school district that's scalable and that has positive outcomes is just exactly what this city needs, right? We have a lot of crises going on with gun violence and other issues, poverty. And so to really know that there are programs that are working holistically like yours is really important. So thank you. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you for giving me this platform to share the great news of what we're doing. And thank you, Katrina, for all you're doing as well.
Thank you, Marcus. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.